Well, who's on first?
Yeah.
Go ahead and talk. Who? The guy on first.
Who?
The guy playing first base.
Who?
The guy on first.
Who is on first?
What are you asking me for? I'm asking you.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to this episode of Who is on First. I am Tim Elbrick, and as always, I am with Brian Kaplinger and Michael Ramsey. Thank you so much for watching and or listening to this podcast. We really appreciate it. Today represents the first official half of the season ending. The All-Star break is on its way, Home Run Derby, and all the fun festivities. So we got a lot to talk about. We got a lot of stuff to break down and some fun stuff to go through. But before we get started, fellas, how was your weekend?
Weekend's good, man. Cubs got another series win, so can't complain. 20 of the last 28 ended in a win, so feeling pretty good right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, just got to figure out the pitching staff, and then you guys might catch the Brewers for the division. Who knows, right? Well, who are we kidding? Nobody's catching the Brewers.
Probably not.
Yes, which that is a great segue into the stuff we're going to break down. So, again, like I mentioned, the first half's over, the All-Star break's upon us. So I thought it'd be a lot of fun to kind of go through our predictions from the beginning of the year and give assessments and grades to teams and what they're doing in the season so far. Obviously, a blanket statement should say the season's not over, which means a lot of these predictions could still technically take place. Some of those for sure will not be able to take place at all, but it's still a chance. Before we get started, though, really appreciate you guys listening again. Just give us a like and subscribe, but mostly just comment. I know we've been getting some more comments and stuff, which has been fantastic. As always, the discussion is the biggest part of all this and the fun of it. So for some small icebreakers before we go into the divisions, I thought I'd throw a couple different individual predictions out to you guys and see what you think. So the first one I want to throw to both of you, because both of you made something about Tatis Jr. Michael pointed out that Tatis Jr. Breaks through and gets into the MVP voting conversation. Small thing that Brian mentioned is he's not on the team anymore by the end of the season in San Diego, which technically could still take place. But based on Tatis' season, how do you think it's going with your MVP prediction, Michael?
Yeah, I was gonna say it seems more likely that he may not be on the same team. No, I mean it's one of those tough things because Tatis is not having a bad year if you look at his overall numbers outside of home runs. Home runs are down significantly, which obviously that factors huge when it comes to MVP voting, especially these days. Especially when you got guys putting up numbers already over 30 by the All-Star break. So won't say it's impossible, but I'd say I'm not feeling too hot on Mr. Tatis locking down the MVP at this point.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
No bet 365 bets going out on that one, Michael.
That's where you do hammer it, because if it hits, man, you're going to be loaded.
Yeah,
that is true.
Absolutely.
Very true.
So one thing, I'm going to throw one of mine out here that I still kind of think holds true. I said the Yankees are going to fall backwards a little bit. I said Judge will finally start to regress a little bit, and Ben Rice will take a massive step forward. All of which, as it currently stands on Sunday, July 12th at 6:15 p.m., is very, very true. Judge has been injured for a month and a half, I think, at this point. Yankees are in the middle of their June swoon, which they always do have. It's lasting a while because it's July now. And Ben Rice is having one of the biggest breakouts of his season so far. So I am pat myself on the back for that one.
Yeah, you just weren't able to get him in your fantasy draft, unfortunately.
I know. Which, to be fair, I haven't really paid attention to my fantasy team in like a month anyway. So
That bad, huh?
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. One fun one for all of us, I think. We all predicted the Royals to win 100 games this year. Which,
hey, there's still a chance. Still a chance.
Is there actually mathematically a chance, though?
Mathematically, they are
There
3
is a
games
chance.
from. So they have to have the craziest second half of all time. But
Right,
technically,
right.
it is still possible.
So if there's 3 games left and they have to go like 70, we have 70 games left to play, so they got to go like 67-3.
Yeah, if they do, I'll get a tattoo of Kansas City.
They need to have the Cubs run for the rest of the season, pretty
100%.
much.
God, it ain't happening, boys. I mean, I would love to see it, but it's not happening.
The Royals break 80 games at this point would be impressive.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm not sure they can do that. Mathematically, it's possible.
Mathematically.
Let's see, a couple more. So, I mentioned Nico Horner having a top 10 MVP season, which I got to give myself a little bit of credit because he was doing it for like a month, and then he got himself a concussion, has yet to recover from it, unfortunately. Brian said Pete Alonso has an MVP season and top 3 in MVP voting.
Yeah, I mean, again, there's an opportunity.
Yeah.
He's not catching Jordan. Who am I kidding? Nobody's catching that man. Like, I mean, I was looking at the numbers, and he's 250-ish, 20 home runs, that type of deal. Like, he's not having a bad year.
Yeah.
I just thought being at Camden Yards would allow him to really kind of stoke those home run numbers. And to your point, Michael, earlier, if you're up there close to 30 at this point in the season, you're going to start garnering some attention and some looks. Unfortunately, just not been the case because he started off absolutely atrocious. It was hot garbage there in Baltimore for a little bit for him, and he's gotten better as of late, but it's one of those things. It's a little too late now. I don't think he's going to run down Mr. Jordan.
Yeah. A couple more, and then we'll head in the division. So I mentioned that Victor Scott has a breakout season, 60 stolen bases, above 300 average, or is demoted and completely out of the roster conversation. So I would say that I'm right, because the second part I also said could be true, and that's the part that's true.
Yeah, it
If you
is
add
sad.
him and Gorman's average together, they may be at 300.
I don't even think they hit 300. So, I mean,
It's pretty bad. Even
they might be
It's pretty bad.
like 210, 220. Like, that might be kind of where they're sitting, unfortunately. And I was telling Tim, we were talking earlier, like, he's absolutely right, because not only has he been demoted, but there is no talk about him in AAA, like none. Like, I don't hear anything. And I mean, and we're paying attention to AAA right now because you've got Baez and some of these other kids like Quinn Matthews, the pitchers that are showing out coming into the All-Star break. And so you would think like, oh, maybe there's a highlight here or there. He gets like a 3-steal game, but that would require him to get on base 3 times, which apparently he's not doing that in AAA either.
He might not even have a steal in AAA, which is not true, but the point is, got to give Brian props to this one. He says Jordan Walker figures it out finally. 260 average, 23 home runs, 65 to 70 RBIs, which he's surpassed all 3 of those already.
I was going to say,
except
that's
is
what
he
I
22 home runs, 23 by the All-Star break? That's what you meant?
Yeah, that's what I meant. No, not really.
I was going to say no, it's not. It is for sure not what he.
Brian really called his shot.
Yeah,
I was trying to play that.
That
one
would have
up.
been
That
a
would
good
have been
bet 365.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. But
I think he's
did not
sitting
have
at
that
22 home runs, but he is the RBI leader at 74 already by the All-Star break. So props to Brian for that one.
Look at you.
Nobody else thought it, that's for
That's
sure.
just hope. I just believe in, something had to break for the Cardinals this year.
I'll give one more for you, and then I got one for myself. So, Michael, you said Suzuki is not on the roster by the end of the year. Do you think that to be true still?
No.
So you think he stays?
Yeah, I think so. The way the Cubs are playing right now, they're relying a lot on the offense, and I can't imagine it's gonna happen because I imagine if a team is going to be trading for him, they're going to be in the hunt as well. But potentially, maybe you see a 3-team trade go down where Suzuki goes to someone who is contending that could use a potential right fielder or DH, and the Cubs get a starting pitcher would be the piece I would see. Obviously, who knows what the rest of that package would look like, but
Yeah.
I mean, it's possible for sure. It's not like he's got like numbers that are just blowing you away by any means, but they're relying too much on their offense right now. So I just don't foresee that happening unless
don't want to
like I
get
said,
one of the offensive pieces that are helping them
one of
win
your
games.
best home run hitters send them out the door. I don't think too many people would enjoy that right now.
Yeah. Okay, last one for you. I thought this was pretty good. You said Atlanta will break up the core and will start to trade their players. You mentioned specifically Albies and Riley. Riley is having one of the worst seasons of all time. Thoughts about that? Do you think that to be true potentially?
Given the fact that Atlanta, before the last month, was the best team in baseball, probably not. Because they've still been figuring it out. But could I see them making a trade for, that could potentially involve Albies? Yeah, maybe. I could potentially see a deal that potentially has him in there, that someone may be interested in him. But Riley, like you said, right now, no one's taken on that contract with a guy who's batting 200 or below. And plays an okay third base. He's not like an elite third baseman either. So, no, I don't foresee that happening, though, unless somebody just loves Ozzy Albies and wants to lock him up with their young core for whatever reason for a starting pitcher, because Atlanta's about the only team that needs starting pitching as bad as Chicago right now.
That's actually that's a pretty true statement. I also said Riley will regress, which I think is interesting. I said they're going to miss the playoffs. I don't think that's to be true. I think they're just too far in it ahead. But, man, Philadelphia is definitely making a case for it. I guess you could say Miami is too.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I mean, Miami's 4 games back, so if somehow both of those catch the Phillies, I mean, then you're looking at the Cubs just essentially percentage points behind them on that side in second place. So there's an outside chance they could still miss the playoffs if they continue on kind of this run. Because, I mean, again, you look at it, the last 2 times the Cardinals have played them, they've won the series. So 4 wins out of the last 6. They're definitely kind of spiraling down at a bad time with Philly and both Miami thriving. It'll be interesting to see what type of run Atlanta comes out with post All-Star break, because that's really going to cement whether or not they're legitimately in the playoffs, whether it's a wild card or division. Because right now I would argue the point, and we did not think it was going to be possible after the first month of the season, but Philly may come back and take that division just with the way that they're playing and their willingness, because they know they're all in to go get some additional players. They're going to be a threat come the end of the season for that division.
Mm-hmm.
They almost got them by the trade or by the All-Star break, which is pretty impressive considering
2
they are like 15 games back.
Right.
Yeah. So last one I'll mention for myself, then we can jump in. I said Wilson Contreras will have his first 100 RBI season of his career and be top 3 in Gold Glove. And Brian and I did the math earlier. He's on pace for currently 36 home runs and 112 ribbies.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, defensively, I have no idea where he's at.
Say that again, Michael?
I said currently he's kind of heating up too. So, I mean, he'll start out maybe a little sluggish,
as long
but
as
he's
he
really
can stay on the field from ejections, not injuries.
Well, you just got to make sure the pitchers don't talk to him.
Yeah. Look at our dugout.
Right.
He's gonna make What a great season. What a great time to be alive right now, watching brawls happen on the field. All right, let's jump in. So we're just going to go through each division and each team, give them a grade, kind of assess what we've done so far based on our expectations. And this is not based on expectations of the league and everything, just based on what we kind of said at the beginning of the year. So we're going to start at, MLB's favorite division of all time, the AL East. And we're going to start with the Yankees. So I should have probably prefaced this first. Let me pull the standings up and we can kind of go through the records. Currently, the division stands at just the Tampa Bay Rays leading with 56-38, New York Yankees in second place at 54-42, the Boston Red Sox coming out of nowhere sitting at 46-48, the Orioles at 46 and 51, and the Blue Jays at 45 and 51. So we'll go each by team. We said the division is going to be Boston, Baltimore, Toronto, New York, and then Tampa Bay, with Toronto and New York kind of flipping between 3 and 4. So let's talk about Boston real quick. Right now they're 46 and 48, and we thought they're going to win the division. Boys, what are we going to give a grade collectively based on what we thought they were going to be?
It's tough, based off of what we thought they were going to be, probably like a D-, because they are back in the hunt, kind of climbing their way out. But obviously, partially, part of that is because their best pitcher goes down, hurt, and they've had a couple other injuries that have kind of derailed some stuff. But they've obviously been playing really good baseball here recently. But given the prediction, I mean, we all thought they were going to be an absolute juggernaut this year, and they certainly weren't that for 3/4 of the first half.
Yeah, for me, I mean, I'm going to be that guy and just say it's a straight up C, just for the simple fact, I mean, it's product of how bad the AL is,
Also
that they're only a half game out of the wild card, that final wild card spot. But the fact that they are still in it, I mean, they're 9-1 going into the break. So, I mean, that's a heck of a run to get yourself back into things. It does seem like some things are coming together for them. I will be interested to see how the youth, pitching-wise, really holds up for the second half. Because now you've got more tape out on them. People are going to know them. They've seen them a number of times, especially within the AL, even your division at this point. It's going to get a little bit tougher. The only reason why I would say a C and not higher is because, I mean, they're 10 games back in their division. They're not sniffing catching the Rays at this point or the Yankees, I don't think, unless there's a catastrophic failure in some capacity with one of those teams. And honestly, I would say that would be the Yankees before I would say the Rays at this point. And so that's why, it's middle, because I think we're seeing what they can be. Sure. And they're a good team. It just took them too long to get some traction.
Yeah, I probably would go in some similar direction. Expectations were, agree with Michael, there were going to be some sort of juggernaut. They have one of the best pitching staffs in baseball. Like to this moment, they're top 5 in ERA.
Yeah.
Who knew Sonny Gray was going to have one of the best ERAs and one of the best seasons of his career? He's
going to get him a haul.
Yeah. All of their pitchers, if you take out, they call him the War Pig. If you take him out, they have the best ERA in baseball. Which, I mean, that just goes to say that Crochet had injuries and just kind of blew up, which there's quite a few aces that have blown up at different parts, between Scooble, not literally blowing up, but like stats and starts and stuff like that. Their offense just frankly sucked for like 2.5 months.
Right.
All the while Wilson Contreras is having the best season of his career. I'm going to say, even though they're the hottest team in baseball right now, I'm going to give them a C, but I'll give them the ability to prove us wrong by the end of the season, that they could have. Honestly, it wouldn't shock me if they won the East, but it also wouldn't shock me if they ended up in 5th place. Like, again, it would take the Yankees and the Rays falling, but the Yankees are just falling apart right now.
Yeah.
Obviously, they've kind of found it in the last few days, in the last little bit with their sweep of the Nationals. But the Rays are the only sure thing. But at the same time, I could see them not necessarily falling off a cliff, but just like 500 the rest of the way, or falling a little bit, and other teams just get hotter. So are we good with a C?
I'm
That's
good
fair.
with a C.
That's fair.
Okay. Let's go with the next. Let's go with the Yankees. So we said they were going to be in 3rd or 4th place. They're going to regress. That's somewhat true because they are regressing. They had almost a 200 plus 200 run differential like a month ago, and now they're at plus 91. Their pitching's kind of regressed lately. Judge has been on the IL for a month and a half. Ben Rice has obviously broken out. Volpe's back doing Volpe things, and they're bouncing.
Enough said.
They're trying to figure out who's going to play shortstop, the one that's good at and the one that's not. It's a little that's a little bit hyperbole, but also kind of true, to be honest with you. And pitchers are going on the IL still. Garrett Cole's come back, been a little bit of a letdown, but like also not terrible, not bad. I guess it's the best you can think of. Like hasn't pitched in a year plus or so. Thoughts on the Yankees, boys, and what we expected. Brian, I think you expected them to win the division. I think Michael and I are the ones that expected them to be lower.
And that's why I say, like, for me, I still think, like, I don't change the expectation for them. I mean, obviously Tampa Bay is proving that they are legitimately a team to be feared in the East. But I think New York's there. I mean, we've seen from their pitching staff that they have the ability to pitch. Slittler coming out and continuing to dominate. Yeah, he's going to have a little bit of an up and down. I did not expect him to run through the whole season as he did the first few months. So you're starting to see that level out a little bit. The biggest concern, and it has been for a while, is going to be the shortstop position in the bullpen, which the Yankees, knowing them, they're going to solve at the deadline. Now, whether it works or not will be the big question. I think, even though it's not necessarily a major defensive upgrade, I think bringing in someone like C.J. Abrams, who the Nationals are more than willing to part with for the right price, is going to enhance this team. And they may have to end up like the Cubs on the sense and just kind of outslug everybody, which is not foreign to the Yankees. And I think that's what they're just going to double down on. You're going to see a couple big pickups, and then they're going to go after some big-time arms in the bullpen side of things and see if they can find one that sticks. And if they do, there's a good chance they're going deep into the postseason once again. And, I mean, they're only 3 games back at Tampa Bay. So, they get hot again, which they won their last 4 going into the All-Star break. So, I mean, they get on a run. They're going to go back and forth with Tampa Bay for the rest of the way. That's going to be fun to watch for those two teams, I think.
Yeah, I don't know, B+, probably. They're beating expectations for me, but at the same time, can definitely see a world where the back end of the team just falls off. Obviously, we saw a little bit of it from Ben Rice the first couple weeks with Judge out. He was struggling. Definitely not the same guy. Not sure what he's done the last week or so as far as that goes. But it's one of those things, like, they certainly have the talent to be the best team in that division. But once again, I could definitely see them finishing 4th in the division if they continue to slide. And let's say Judge gets pushed back an extra week or 2 before he can come back. And at the same time, we don't know what Judge is going to look like when he comes back, like what kind of ramp-up time that's going to take. Fortunately for them, a timeline of coming back in August does give him enough time before the playoffs to ramp up, be ready for the playoffs if they can still, kind of get it done. But I'd say B+ is fair because, obviously they're not blowing us away the last month like they were. And like you said, a couple of their young pitchers were, outstanding, especially early in the year, but they've been kind of more human the last several starts. So I think B+ probably fair.
So last 7 games for Ben Rice, 423 average, 500 on base, 1 slug, 5 home runs, 12 ribbies. So he's had a great week, but the last month has been pretty bad. Last 30 games have been pretty bad. Yeah, I kind of agree with everything you guys said. I'd probably give him in the B as well, just because I expected him to fall off more. I think Bellinger has saved a lot of their season with his performance. He's just been really solid. It seems when June comes around, their entire team just doesn't know what to do. But in that whole time, he's had a pretty decent, I would say, time. Do you guys think Judge takes what do they call that when they go to the minors? Rehab. Do you think Judge does rehab assignments, or do you think he just comes straight back?
I mean, I think if he hasn't been doing a lot of like game time activity, it'd be nice to see him go down, even if it's for a short stint, like a week, just to, just to kind of get himself ramped back up and seeing that. I mean, you can only do so much within the cage. I mean, obviously, right now they can really check velocity and things like that. I think the only way he maybe doesn't go to the minors is if he comes back and is DH only and can get in some work before the games in the outfield, things like that. But if it's me and I'm the Yankees, which obviously I'm not, but I would send him down at least for a week just to ramp things back up, see what he looks like in the outfield, and determine whether or not this is going to be like a DH only for a period of time.
Yeah. So we're good. Are we good with a B for the Yankees?
Yeah, fair.
Yeah. Okay. Last one before we get to the two really big ones, Baltimore. So we predicted Baltimore to be in second place in the East. Currently, they are sitting at, going to get the screen back. They're in fourth place, 46-51, have a negative 19 run differential. I would just say overall the team is pretty mid to low mid. They can never get on a run. They're 7-3 in their last 10. They've won 4 in a row right now. So they're Alonso's definitely on a heater and a tear. Taylor Ward's had a pretty decent season. I would say nothing in their pitching has stuck out either. So thoughts on Baltimore so far at the All-Star break?
Yeah, D for me. I'll just be honest because I thought the offense would be a lot better. We were talking a little bit offline, Tim. Gunnar Henderson is just like fallen off a cliff this year. And so like that was probably maybe one of the biggest catalysts there. Again, Alonso seems like he's getting his feet under. And again, the last 10 games, they've looked good. They look like they could potentially sneak into maybe a back-end wild card spot if cards fall the right way. But I'm just not buying them right now because of a lot of what you said. I mean, they're mid in a lot of areas. Their pitching's not been good. They can't consistently go on a run. Maybe this 4-game stretch is the best that they've done all season. You'd have to fact check me on that. But I think this is the best run we've seen. And now if this is the team we get moving forward, can some things shift a little bit? Certainly. But they've, again, they put themselves on the backside of an extremely tough division, especially if Boston's going to keep playing the way they're playing. Yankees aren't necessarily going anywhere offensively. And the Rays, we know they're going to pick up some random pitcher at the trade deadline that's going to pitch under a .5 ERA for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
Brian, they might already have that pitcher in-house with Roycroft.
They're going to transition him to a starter here soon. Don't worry.
They might. Yeah, no, it's tough for me because, I thought Gunnar was going to have just this killer year this year, especially coming out of the World Baseball Classic. That dude was lighting it up in the WBC. Thought he was really taking a step forward this year. Holiday's not done anything, which is certainly not helping them out at all. Ironically, Adley Rutschman and Basallo both are actually having decent years, but it's never great when your two catchers are the guys that are kind of carrying the offensive load. So, I don't know, D, C minus, somewhere in there, I'd say. And their pitching staff is killing them, which I think that was the piece that we all kind of saw as if this team is not going to be able to survive, it's going to be because of that pitching staff. And, coming into the year is Zach Eflin the best pitcher on the staff? Or, it's like never great whenever you're kind of going through those conversations. So, I certainly thought this Baltimore team was going to be awesome this year. Definitely take a big step forward, and they are not doing that right now. So, probably a C, D.
I think I'd go with D. My expectations for them were lower, not this bad, but they were lower. I just think an amalgamation of free agent ads just doesn't always blend right away. I've kind of always had that stance. A couple that stick out for me that's really a problem is obviously Jackson Holiday. I think is a big bummer right now. It's way too early to write him off. I mean, Brian and I talk about Jordan Walker in that story. Obviously, you can't give up on young kids early like this, but that's definitely a bat that I think they've planned on being a really big deal and hitting 210 right now. He is getting on base a lot, but he was injured the first part of the season, so came back late. Kobe Mayo, is another one hitting 193 right now.
Yeah.
Obviously hitting home runs like crazy, but that's about it. Not walking. He's just slugging. And then Tyler O'Neill, honestly, has kind of turned himself into a platoon bat only, left-handed pitching only kind of guy. And there's a lot of like, hey, we needed these guys to do this, and it's not hitting for me. Alonso is getting back to and it's not a person I'm worried about. He's sitting at a 20 OPS right now, rocking 21 home runs. Again, big free agent signings never usually, in my opinion, don't work out right at the beginning of the year. But he's found himself in getting there, but he's not finding a lot of support in other cast members. As I dig into Holiday, he is not chasing at all right now, but he's just not hitting strikes. His chase rate is in the elite percentile, but he's whiffing at everything, which means you can just throw him strikes and you can't hit him.
Yikes.
So I'm not sure where he's at right now, but I'd go with them with a D, even though my expectations were lower. All right, last two. These are going to be the most fun. Let's do the Tampa Bay Rays. They are currently sitting in the lead for the division, which nobody saw coming. They are 3 games above the Yankees right now at 56-38, plus 32 run differential. They are in a 5-5 stretch in the last 10. They have been running that division, I think, for 2 weeks. I think we probably say. They are not leading anything in any statistical category, but they are the top 10 in pitching, and I believe they are runs scored wise top. Shoot, where are they? They're in the top 16 in runs scored, and top 6 in WRC plus as a team at 106. Thoughts on the Rays?
It's got to be, if we're looking at what they've done now, it's an A plus. Because I did not expect them in any world to be this good. We always joke and say they're the Rays, so they put together runs. They seem like they're in the mix every year. But this isn't just in the mix. They're controlling the division, and they're doing it in such an unexpected way because, like you said, their offense isn't really like tremendous. They've got some standout players. Don't get me wrong. Caminero is an absolute stud. And what they choose to do at the trade deadline, I think, is really going to define what they look like. They're always good at pitching. That's where they hang their hats. They find the gems. I thought it was going to burn them because some of the pickups they had this year, like Steven Matz and some of those guys, were not panning out. So I thought that was going to be like the one thing that broke them this year. And they still just find somebody else to plug in that gap, and it's worked. Martinez coming over and doing what he's done. It's just like you can't refute what they can do as far as staff and support staff at least getting the best out of the players they have. Now, whether these players go on to other organizations and do anything is yet to be determined. But if they're in Tampa Bay, they're elite players. And so, you can't go against them because the moment you start, they're like, here, watch this. We'll throw in another guy that we picked up off of a DFA from another team, and he's going to come up and have the most clutch gene you've ever seen in your life. Example, Villalde or whatever his name is from the Cardinals, Ryan
Villalde,
that's
Villalde,
right. Yeah. He's not having a spectacular season, but he's in every highlight, Tim, to your point when we were talking earlier, because when they need a big hit, dude just hits. And I'm like, where was that when he had a whole half a season with the Cardinals?
Yeah, it's
not doing that.
It's funny because it's one of those things. We all know the Rays are always going to hang around, but certainly did not expect them to be leading the AL as a whole at the All-Star break, but yet here we stand. They're a great team, and Caminero has really cemented himself as one of the best young players in the game.
Right.
We really saw a lot out of him last year, but you're like, can he replicate that? And he certainly is up to this point. And Tampa doesn't typically go all in, but if you're going to build around a guy and bring in another big piece, that kid is certainly, from the fallout of the Wander Franco, debacle, being able to have a kid like Caminero, come through like this, it's huge for them. So if they could go lock up another great young piece, I'd hate to, really spitball on what that may look like. But if they somehow got like a James Wood or somebody like that, put those two bats together, it'd be unbelievable. And I think this may be the first time we're going to be going into the trade deadline over the last 5 years that you're not hearing Yandy Diaz's name all over the trade deadline, and then absolutely nothing happens with him. So this is probably the year that they actually move him for, maybe James Wood. I think certainly an A+. If you want to give them extra credit, I'm on board with that too, because they are a great team.
Yeah, I'm gonna hit A+ with them just because the expectations that we had were really, really low, and when you outdo those that far, now this is the half season grade or the half point, so we don't know what the end of the season is going to look like. But I would say they probably have one of the best top 3 hitters in baseball. Like if you think about Diaz, Aranda, and Caminero together, there's not a lot of top of the lineup 1 through 3, 1 through 4, maybe that can outdo that. The Cardinals have a really good one. Cubs have a really good one. Dodgers have a really good one. Outside of that, though, they're in the top. They're probably in the top 3. With top of the guys in the lineup.
Yeah.
And I would just say they're playing really good baseball together. They're not leading in tons of categories and tons of numbers. Statistically, they're not a super great defensive team, but they play really decent defense when they need, which their pitchers rely on. Nick Martinez, he's on the Rays, right?
Yeah.
Or is that he's having one of the greatest seasons of all time for his career anyway, and he's a ground ball pitcher. He's a contact-oriented pitcher. I would just say the Rays are rain this year. They're just rain everywhere. I'm going to give him an A+ as well. So the last one we're going to talk about for the East, the Toronto Blue Jays. We all said they'd be in 3rd place at the end of the year, which technically is possible, but they are sitting in last place right now at 45-51. They're 12 games behind the Rays. They have not gotten out of their own way. That's the best way to say that. They're 5-5 in the last 10, -35 run differential, and they just can't get out of their own way right now.
Yeah, I'm going to make it short and sweet. I thought this was going to be the case. Maybe not them in 5th, in the division, because I thought other teams would be bad. But I knew there was going to be this hangover and not a lot of roster shifting. They had a great run last year, don't get me wrong, but obviously pitching has not been the same. And even with some of their pitchers still doing some pretty electric stuff, obviously the offense isn't there. Outside of Okamoto, there hasn't been as much there. Clement has done, obviously being an all-star, has done a great job, but you're getting a shadow of what you thought you would get in Guerrero. Vladdy has just not shown up in that capacity. The outfield in general, Varsho makes flashes, but he hasn't been tremendous. There's just not a lot of support. And so, because this is what I expected from them, I would still say, it's a C as far as they're not overwhelming, but they're not super underwhelming because I didn't have a whole lot of expectation.
Yeah, I guess that's where I'm a little different on them. I did think Toronto, mostly because of how highly I think of Vladdy as a hitter, just because he's always been a guy that can hit for average plus power, and average still isn't horrible. The guy's still batting 260, 270, not terrible, but he's got no power in his bat right now, which is just really strange. That we're seeing that from him and Tatis both, because the entire Dominican team was going off in the WBC. Like
He used it all up.
everybody was hitting home runs in the WBC. So, yeah, I don't know. I would say I would grade them a little harder, probably like a D, personally, especially because Dylan Cease has been excellent. Gossman's not been terrible. Like you said, there's a couple pitchers that are showing up. Yasevich missed a lot of time, which I think definitely hurt them coming out of things last year. That kid was, one of the best pitchers in the league coming down the stretch into the playoffs, and for him to start on the IL was a big bummer for them. But that team goes as Vladdy does. And when he's not providing that power piece to go along with, batting around 300, that certainly hurts a team that is not filled with a lot of power. There are a lot of contact guys on that team, but you can't have Vladdy be the guy that's just the contact piece. But Alejandro Kirk's, he's also spent quite a bit of time on the IL. He's not hit well either, and he was a guy that you could count on to come through a lot last year. So yeah, it's been a pretty disappointing year overall. Outside of like I said, a few shiny pieces. Arnie Clement's having a sensational year for the Blue Jays this year, and like I said, Cease I think is starting the All-Star game. So I mean, obviously he's had a pretty nice year too. But overall, they've been very disappointing from the aspect of I thought they'd at least compete for the division. Not necessarily win it, but I thought they'd at least have some say, and certainly right now it doesn't look to be the case.
Yeah, I teeter towards F, to be honest with you. I mean, a team that was 2 outs away from winning the World Series in Game 7 to have this much of a fall off. And for me, my expectation wasn't that they would be bad and be in third place. It was just that the other two teams would be that much better and grew. I kind of wonder if we've overlooked what Bichette meant to the team.
I was going to ask that question.
Yeah, like culture's a thing that you can't find in stat sheets, and he was a big deal in the postseason. He didn't even play in the first 2 rounds, but when he came back, but he was there. He was in the clubhouse. Him and Vladdy kind of grew up together, came into Major League Baseball together. Ernie Clement has just picked up right where he left off in the World Series. I mean, he's now the postseason hits leader, and he's still he's 106 hits on the team. Behind him is Vladdy at 88. So we're talking almost 20 more hits than him. But yeah, mostly the offense is just Vladdy has not been there. And again, is that because Bichette's not there? Not because Vladdy can't perform without him, but just culture's a difference. Because Michael, you bring up a really good point about when they were in the WBC, and they were smashing, and Vladdy was hitting home runs like crazy. Yeah. Same with Tatis. And then all of a sudden the season starts and just falls off a cliff. So yeah, that's a good question, Brian. Like, any thought to that for both of you?
Go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, well, and the piece I'm going to say is, the guy they replaced him with is an elite defender, but he's having a really terrible year hitting. So Andres Jimenez is batting like 230 right now, and obviously Bichette's having a terrible year. But it's one of those things. Bichette, I think you're really onto something there with the Vladdy. Kind of felt like he could take that cape off sometimes, I think. And him and Bichette were boys, and you saw that when they played the Mets. Like, there was some emotions running pretty high there. And so not having that guy, in the locker room with you every day certainly seems to be playing a piece. And, from the Toronto aspect, you probably have a much better defender there. But every year, Bichette was one of the leaders in hits by the end of the year every year. And so it's like, you may have wanted to lean more on the guy that can hit the ball and take average defense out of him than rely on a guy who's never been a strong hitter, but he's always been an electric defender. It certainly was a decision. Obviously, it cost them a lot more to keep Bichette around, but I think there's definitely some weight to that.
Yeah, I think if they could take it back, they would. I think, if you could rewind time, they would be like, we're definitely going to pay that money because, it's not this heavy. I'm gonna make it sound heavier than it probably is, but like, there's grief. Like, I mean, I think about it like even in my current work realm, there are people in my life that if they move on, I can be extremely happy for them because they may be moving on to something better, but my work performance is going to take a hit because of what we're able to bounce back and forth off of. And so I think that's what you're seeing with Vladdy in that sense, that because Bichette's not there, that was his boy. That was the guy he would go to maybe talk hitting with. What are you seeing from these pitchers that would give Vladdy an upper hand in comparison to maybe what he's getting now? And not that he doesn't have the same information, maybe he doesn't process it as well as Bichette did, and Bichette was kind of like that translator for him in a sense when it came to what he's seen from pitchers. Maybe Bichette's the guy that can come in and go, man, like your launch angle's off, you need to do this. And he just doesn't have that now, and maybe there's not a comfort level with some of the other guys. Not that they're not good people and he's got great relationships with, but when you were in a system with the same guy from the beginning, when you're drafted together, it's different. I mean, we look at what like Mason Wynn and Walker are like, and they both talk about how much it means to them that they're playing together every day, and you see them bouncing back and forth between one another. For the Cardinals as a whole, it's like the whole younger core group is doing that, which can translate really, really well. And so you have to be cautious how you break that up when you're talking about front offices. And I think if Toronto had it over again, they would probably maybe spend a little bit of extra money to hold on to Bichette, because it could be a different season. Like they could be competing again had that not happened.
And I think this is probably, I mean, it's not factual, but I have a feeling Bichette would probably do the same thing in the sense of like not take. If there's one guy at the trade deadline or one guy at the end of the season that I would say would take less money to go somewhere else, it's probably Bo Bichette to get out of the situation that he's in, because happiness is also like a factor. Peace is also a factor. Money can do a lot of things and can outgrow or outpace other things, but the dude looks miserable. Yep. Now, if the team was winning, we would probably say something different, because winning kind of in this business surpasses everything. So they're not winning. They look miserable, and because of that. But at the same time, I would probably put money on the fact that he would not take his option at the end of the year and try again just somewhere else in some other situation, even though he's going to leave 40, 80 million left on the table. I'm going to go, I'm going to say in the D- for Toronto. How you guys feel about that?
Yeah, I'm fair.
I can't argue with it.
Okay.
I'd probably give him a little bit higher, but
okay. In the D range.
Yeah.
All right, let's jump over to the AL Central. We'll start with Cleveland. Currently, the division stands, I believe, Chicago is leading, which nobody saw coming. That's going to be fun to talk about. The White Sox are leading at 50-45. Then the Guardians are right behind them at 51-46, tied with it winning percentage-wise. Then the Minnesota Twins are sitting there at 48-49. The Tigers are sitting at 44-52, and the Royals, who all three of us pegged to have 100 wins, are sitting at 38-59. So let's start with the Royals, because that's what.
I could really, like, honestly, and I mean, I could blanket this whole division for you really, really quickly in a sense.
Probably.
And not spend a lot of time here. I mean, obviously, the way it is kind of running down there, for me, the Royals are getting the lowest possible grade you could give. So, like, if I could give them a 0, I probably would give them a 0 at this point, because I just don't think they're showing up. And it's not because I think that, like, there's no effort from the team. It is just not translating. The guys that they thought were going to hit are not hitting anywhere remotely to what they need them to be. Bobby Witt is still Bobby Witt, but is even having a down year compared to what we're used to. The crazy thing is like, you look at that roster on paper, throw the stats away, and I think if I were to rewind time and go back to the beginning of the year, I'd probably still say the same thing. Like, I think they're going to run away with this division, potentially win it all. It's just not working. Like, they cannot play on the road. Like, I mean, they don't play well at home, but they really don't show up when they're away from Kaufman. Like, it is absolutely insane how bad this team has been. And I don't know what they're going to do about it, because it's not like they have a lot of internal options to replace people unless they're willing to sell someone like Bobby Witt, which I do not expect them to do in any world. They're not going to recoup enough draft capital, prospect capital, if you will, to reset this. And so that's what's scary to me is what are they legitimately going to do to right this ship?
Well, and it's tough because I think everybody knew there was some world that Michael Walker could get moved, even if Kansas City was good.
Right.
Like, he was the one like piece that they would dangle out there because there'd be teams interested in a guy that's not an elite starting pitcher, but is good and will potentially help service them in the playoffs. That has a lot of experience. The piece that's really falling short is like Salvador Perez is having the worst year of his career by a hefty margin. I mean, and he's a guy that's always been like, consistency out of Salvi's going to be there. And you knew he's aging, you know it's going to fall some as he continues to age, but you bring up a good young catcher, you're expecting, Salvi to kind of mentor him, and Salvi probably to play a little more DH this year, maybe a little first base. But you were seeing enough out of Vinny P into last year and into the WBC that you're like, I'm feeling comfortable here. And truthfully, he started off pretty poorly, but Caglianone's kind of come on recently. And so, like you said, you got Bobby Witt's playing well, Garcia's doing okay. Caglianone's doing okay, and those are probably the three guys you really need to do well. But no one else is performing even to what you needed, like expectations, bare minimum. The pitching's been at best in a lot of games. The hitting, like I said, is not there at all. I think Salvi may have the lowest OPS in all of baseball right now, or on base percentage in baseball. Like, it's in the 200s, like abysmal from a guy who's a Hall of Fame player. So it's pretty tough to watch Kansas City. I 100%. This is definitely the most disappointing team in baseball right now.
Yeah, honestly, I think they deserve an F,
yeah.
Which is a really, really harsh grade. And I mean, I think our expectations were probably really high.
Yeah.
But if you look at the names, like we all said, how they came off of the WBC, I mean, Venezuela won it. Salvi right there captaining that ship. We expected Cagliano to take a step forward. Bobby Witt's been in an MVP conversation the last 2 years. But I'd put it all together and just say they're not playing good baseball together.
Yeah.
The opposite of the Rays. The Rays are just playing good baseball as a team. The Royals are not playing good baseball as a team at all.
Yep.
And they kind of just suck, unfortunately. All right, a couple quick hitters because Brian was right. Cleveland, real quick. They're sitting in second place. I'm going to give them a B just simply because they're just doing what we expected them to, and they're not outperforming, though. I don't know how you guys feel about that.
I agree.
Yeah,
100%.
I'm in the same boat. Like, and I would even put Minnesota in that category. Like, not because they're doing anything spectacular, but that's kind of what we thought they were going to be, is what they are. I mean, they're doing a little bit better, so maybe a B plus in Minnesota side. Cleveland, definitely, I'm with you on the B. I mean, I'm a little impressed they're doing it without J-Ram.
Yeah.
That they're still hanging around. And so when he gets back, will they take command of the division once again and be right back where we thought they were? Sure. So yeah, those two teams I would say B, maybe a B plus for Minnesota just because they're a touch better than I actually anticipated them to be.
Yeah, I'm gonna give Minnesota just a little bit higher because we all said that they were going to be last in the division, and they have They're sticking around. They're making it interesting. They have a really good offense, which we kind of didn't see.
Right.
Their pitching is what's suspect, especially starters after their top two, and then their bullpen's a little suspect. But they're keeping pace. Part of that is because the AL just sucks.
Right.
But yeah, I'm gonna stick him in the B. All right, let's do the last two because I think this is the most interesting. The Detroit Tigers are sitting in 4th place. They're 7-3 in the last 10. They've had one of the worst beginning of the seasons, kind of how the end of their season last year. But they are definitely on a heater now. Tarek Skubal went on the IL, what was it, 2 months ago, I think?
Something like that.
Yeah,
had one of the
too.
weirdest elbow surgeries of all time, and he is back. They're sitting at a plus 24 run differential as well. It's hard for me to say because they're kind of in the Boston category where expectations were a lot higher and they sucked for a long time, but they're picking and getting really hot right now.
Yeah.
What are your guys' thoughts? I'm torn between a C and a B. Probably C.
Yeah, I was going to say a C, and that may be just because of the expectation that I had for this team. Again, this is another team that I thought them in Kansas City would kind of like, I thought Detroit would come down a little bit, but now you're talking about teams saying there's a potential sell risk for Detroit here, not just because of Skubal. We figured that was going to take place, but I think some of their other key players to get a little bit younger and maybe recoup and start to build might also be on the way out. And so I would still say a C, just because they're in it because the AL is bad doesn't necessarily mean you push the gas pedal and start buying.
Yeah, I would agree that, and I think the Tigers are probably one of the most interesting teams to watch the next 3 weeks because they have 2 or 3 really interesting arms on that team that a lot of teams are kind of watching. Skubal's kind of made it known that he really doesn't want to leave Detroit, but obviously he doesn't have full control over whether that happens or not. They continue to play this way. It's going to be hard to imagine that Detroit's willing to just dish him out also, because that division's definitely within grasp. I mean, like I said, they've been playing horrible ball, and they're still only 6.5 games back. So I definitely can see a world where they stick together. But I would say a C is fair, just from the aspect of with the guys they had. I would have expected them, especially with the way everyone else has played in this division, that they would have been at the top of this division by this point, just because of between hitters and pitchers, they probably had the second most talented or most talented team in the division. So, but there's some pieces that Javi Baez goes down hurt early in the year for a significant amount of time. Definitely has hurt this team pretty badly. But at the same time, you got to watch Kevin McGonigal kind of blossom into this great young piece. So I don't know. I think C is probably fair, but this is definitely a team I'm really watching these next 3 weeks because it's going to be really interesting to see what they do with, like you said, position players and pitchers both.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to give them a D. I think it's just a blanket. Blanket C. Just because they're really getting hot and picking it up right now. I didn't think Kevin McGonigal was supposed to be the second best OPS on the team right now. Dylan Dingler's having a great season. Riley Green's taking a little bit of a step forward, still striking out like crazy, but hitting really, really well. He's their hits leader. Him and McGonigal are sitting at 99. Baseball's weird. This team playing like they are and playing at the beginning of the season kind of doesn't make sense, but at the same time, there's 60 plus games left, 70 games left, and they could end up winning the division. It's also worth noting, because the AL is not great, they're 3.5 out of the wild card. Above them is the Blue Jays, the Orioles, the Astros, the Red Sox, and the Twins. The Mariners and Guardians and Yankees are in the wild card spot. The Twins currently tie with the Mariners. So 3.5 games out of a wild card is nothing. That is an easily jumped mark. But again, the AL just is terrible. I'll give them the C. So lastly, for the Central, I think we all got to unify here. The White Sox are an A+ because in no way did we see this coming.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
They are the surprise, I think, of baseball this year. Yay?
Yeah, I would agree.
Absolutely. And I'll just say this. I am really interested in watching their second half to see if they can hold on.
Yeah.
Because the one thing is simply this, and this is what scares me with the White Sox. They play amazing at home on the south side of Chicago, cannot play on the road. And, I mean, that's okay, but that's not necessarily going to win you the division. They're going to have to pick it up a little bit playing on the road.
Ooh.
And
That's
so,
bad.
yeah, so we'll see if that's something that can hold together.
That's a great call. No, I always give the White Sox a hard time, but they're having a really nice season so far. Murakami has certainly come over and has kind of exceeded a lot of folks' expectations as to what that kid could become. I think the big piece that I guess I would say I'm concerned for this team, if they could hold or not, is it's a very young team. There is no veteran presence that is heard from or really has any say in that locker room. So when the end of August, September rolls around and things are getting really tight, it'd be interesting to see who would step forward in that locker room and kind of be the guy that pushes them across the finish line to get into the playoffs. But certainly an A+ because their pitching has held up and their hitters have been fantastic.
Hey, man, Randall Grichuk just showed up. You never know.
That guy is
You know-
the guy that checks in, gets his hits, man, and just goes home every offseason.
Yeah. Yeah, man, they're just surprising, which makes it a lot of fun. They're not supposed to be good yet, and they are. I mean, it's very, very similar to St. Louis and what's going on. And again, the expectations on them were super low, and they've outperformed every single one of them. Colson Montgomery and Miguel Vargas doing what they're doing has been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Murakami obviously going on the heater that he was probably May, I think mid-May to mid-June before he got injured. That he had like 2 different 4-game, 5-game home run paces, and it was a lot of fun when you could put on a slip that Vargas and Murakami were going to hit a home run together for like a week straight. They're just playing really fun baseball, and they have some really good pitchers too. But again, that home road split is very, very eerie. They're getting ready to go into Toronto after the break is over, so that'll be a lot of fun. But they deserve an A+ because for the first half of the season, going from one of the worst teams in baseball to leading the Central, partially because everybody else is terrible, but hey, they showed up in any way. So
sometimes all it takes is effort, boys.
Yeah. Just show up, boys. Just show up. And that's, their win total is literally where, pretty close to where I would have pegged them for the year. So it's pretty impressive.
That's a good point. That means they could go 0-70 and, they would still meet expectations.
Still meet expectations.
Yeah. All right, let's jump over to the West. And we'll round out the AL. This has been probably the worst division in baseball, I think we would all say. We had the West shaping out to be Seattle in front, Texas, then Houston, then the Athletics, then the Angels. It's not too far off right now, but for no reason than they're all terrible. As
nobody
my page
wants
is
to
loading.
win.
Yeah. Rangers are sitting in first at 49-47. The only team above 500 in that division. The Mariners are in second at 48-49. Houston in third, 47-51. Athletics with 41-55. And the Angels in the basement at 38-59. Tied with winning percentage with the Royals. Boys, let's start with Seattle.
Okay.
A, B, C, D, E, F.
To me, this is a D because they were supposed to be so much better. Again, another deep playoff run, potentially World Series bound this year. great pitching staff. They added the pieces that we thought they needed to add. Donovan coming over was supposed to solidify the offense. Obviously hasn't played a whole lot, been hurt. Raleigh is nowhere to be found this year. After last year, I didn't expect the same thing as last year, but I did not expect this. Maybe he does need to have some days off. Maybe he needs some mental breaks this year. I don't know. But it is not working this year. The whole division for me, it's like there are a couple C's here because teams are where I expected them to be. And then the rest is like D, because they're just underperforming. But for Seattle specifically, I mean, it's the D. Even though they're in the mix, they still have a chance to win the division. Like, it is not pretty. Like, I don't know that anybody wants to claim this year the division of AL West champion. Like, I would not put a banner up if I'm the team that wins this division.
Oh shoot,
Facts.
That's good. No, I think I'm gonna grade him a little harsher even than a D. I'm gonna give him a D minus, borderline F here, because between them and the Mets, they're my second most disappointing team this year. I expected a lot out of this team. Their pitching staff, for the most part, has actually held up relatively well for a good portion of the year. They've had some outings, obviously, that they, whatever reason, Brian Wu gets blown up some random game, and then he goes and throws 7 scoreless the next one. But overall, they've pitched relatively well. But this team, like Brian said, I had this borderline World Series team for sure, and J-Rod actually started the year off relatively well. He's cooled off. Randy Arozarena's still kind of doing his thing. About the only guy there in Seattle doing his thing. But, here they are. They're still right there in the division and can very easily win this division. But they just, I don't know. It's weird. Obviously, Cal is not going to put up 60 this year, but I still thought he may hit 35, 40 home runs this year and bat, 220, 240, somewhere in that range. I mean, this guy went from being, if you would have told a lot of people that he beat Aaron Judge out last year in MVP, some people, especially in the bigger markets, in New York, would have been like, that shouldn't happen. But there's plenty of people that have been like, that's fair. I mean, we've never seen a season like this out of a catcher, and that's very fair. He was right there. I mean, they're the Toronto Blue Jays, is what Cal Raleigh is essentially right now. It's like, you were right there from being the best player in the entire American League, and you just look like you don't even know how to play baseball right now. So, it's pretty disappointing, but like you said, this is first half. He may get a break here at the All-Star break, come back completely recharged, and, this is a different Seattle team. It's one of those things. Obviously, Houston's dealing with a lot of injuries still. So, we'll see what happens there. In Texas, it's hard to say. But if there was going to be a team in this division that gets right and just flows into the playoffs, I think it's Seattle. So I could definitely see this flipping the script here. But currently off of expectations, they have been about as far as you can be from expectations.
Yeah, I'm gonna give him a D minus because I want to give him an F, but I'll hold at the D. They are very, very disappointing. Their pitching staff's honestly been great, aside from the weird piggyback stuff that we've talked about that they've been obsessed with. I think it's mostly because they want to trade. They want to keep value for some trades they want to make. But I mean, Cal Raleigh hitting 169, 581 OPS. That's really, really bad. And you could say that he's been injured. He did deal with an injury, but even prior to the injury, he wasn't going off and wasn't doing much at all. And coming back from it, still not done anything. Arozarena is the only good part of their offense right now. I mean, he's having a career year because he's getting ready to try and get paid, which makes sense. I've been really disappointed in Donovan because of injuries. I mean, I don't know that you can fault players that much for injuries, but at the same time, availability is one of the best traits, and that was supposed to be a big deal. Like, they were banking on a big deal for Brendan Donovan to their offense, and he just hasn't been there. He started off the year so hot and so great for them, and just not been there, and I think it's hurt. And Naylor also has been a big letdown after signing that deal. 671 OPS right now, and he's making everybody else in the league mad, not doing well at the same time.
Big distraction.
Big distraction. Not great. Let's go to Texas. What do you guys think?
I'm going to give them a C+ for me. And the plus is just simply because, hey, they're leading a division, so you get a little bonus because you're leading a division. They are who I thought they were going to be. Like, this is average at best. Like, I didn't have tremendous expectations. I figured they would be fighting for the division anyway. I mean, maybe there's a little bit of a disappointment because the hitters aren't quite the same hitters. They're not. The offense isn't quite the same. I think I read the other day, I don't know how long, but Seager's back on the IL. Some of the stuff like that. So it's just one of those things where I think, they've got enough to compete. Obviously, they're doing it. Again, I don't know how pleased they would say they are at just 2 games above 500 at this point in the season. But hey, kudos to you because nobody else is taking control of the division. So, keep doing that. I mean, at this point, unless somebody proves you wrong, all you got to do is play 500 ball and you're going to win the West. So, that to me, not that should ever be your goal. But hey, if it's working, why change it, right?
Yeah, I would say I don't know. I guess I would say I'm C+, borderline maybe B- with them. Just because you've got a couple pieces like Josh Young is having a pretty nice season actually for Texas, and it's nice for them to see him kind of come back into the player they saw a couple of years ago. At the same time, you're watching Evan Carter, who is also supposed to be another one of your good young pieces, is not been good at all. I think he's batting like 180 or something, pretty awful. So, and the pitching staff, we knew if this pitching staff is healthy, this pitching staff could be really good. Whether it is, obviously, who knows? But you're relying a lot on some guys that have just a big injury history, and it's popped its head up a couple times already this year. But it's like they're pretty much meeting to slightly above expectations, I guess I would say, from Texas, because I didn't think I had them slotted as a playoff team, but I thought they were a team that would kind of be in the mix. But like Brian said, like right now, leading this division's like the meme, we've all seen the picture of like the gold trash bag but in a pile of trash. It's not saying a whole lot to be leading this division because I'm pretty sure we can go pick up a couple more guys and be competitive right now.
I actually teeter with like D to F for me. I had decently high expectations of this team because I just remember 2023 and like this is one of the best offenses in baseball, and it's like where the heck did they go? Obviously Marcus Semien kind of fell off, which maybe you could say is to be expected. Obviously he's not on the team anymore. And then Adolis fell off out of nowhere and not on the team anymore. But I'm really surprised that Seager's fall off. Bro's hitting 182 right now. Got a 666 OPS, which maybe that's the problem.
Yeah.
Evan Carter hitting 188 right now, 632. I'm just thinking they literally won the World Series from slugging their way to that ring, and this offense is not great.
No.
Now, there's some good players with some good hitting, some good numbers, but I'm Seager. I'm a big disappointment because he's one of my favorite players of all time, and he just can't stay healthy anymore. I'll meet in the middle with you guys and go middle, like C, middle.
Okay.
Okay, we got 3 more. Round out the AL. Quick hit. Angels. We all think DF. They're doing what we thought they'd do, but
I'd give them a C, to be honest with you, because they're made exactly where I thought they'd be.
This is the only thing I will say, and it's not a hot take, but if you're the ownership of the Angels, do the fans a favor and sell the team. Because if you're going to not trade and go just complete rebuild after you've been the basement of the West for years, with some of the player profiles that you've had, sell it and move on. You are not a baseball owner, my friend. Try your hand at the NBA, some other, sport. You might be able to pull something off, but baseball is just not your forte. So let's just move on.
We'll give them a D. They're a little bit worse than I thought they were going to be, which is saying something. All right, athletics, boys. Where do we think? We thought they were going to be in 4th place, which they are right now. They had a pretty good run in the season where they were teetering in 1st place. Again, the division's not good, but expectations, what we thought. Where you guys sit?
I got a D here just because I thought the offense was going to be a lot better. I didn't have an expectation that the team would be better because I feel like the pitching was going to hold them up. And the pitching hasn't been great, but the offense has not been great either. I mean, they've shown flashes periodically where it looked good, but overall, I mean, they're missing some pieces. Some of the other key players outside of maybe Langoliers, Kurtz started to pick it up a little bit there. You're not seeing a whole lot. Wilson was injured a lot, hasn't played a ton of baseball. Some of the other guys, I thought Lawrence Butler was going to have a little bit of a resurgence. Not the case. And so to me, that's why I would obviously, go D. And then their last 10 has been absolutely miserable.
Yeah.
Yeah. The A's, I think I have to give them a D. I probably would have gone C just because they are right where we thought they would be, but because they were playing better ball earlier in the year, I think that's why I'm kind of leaning that way. They weren't playing great, but they were playing good enough. And we saw in that series when they were in Vegas, this team has the ability to hit the baseball. And they've got some great young players. Langoliers, Kurtz, like you said, Brian, both of these guys are great young hitters. But some guys like Lawrence Butler and stuff are really putting them in a pretty bad spot. Rooker's having a really bad year, which is not his MO either. He's been a bat that they could really rely on for the last 3 to 5 years there. And, like I said, we expected them just because mostly the pitching staff to be sitting in 4th come into the year, but maybe, teeter with, 2nd or 3rd place potentially in the division if their offense got crazy hot or something we saw, at a stretch. But I'd probably give them a D plus just because there is part of me that says, they're slightly above the expectation of or they're right at, but at the same time, I'm pretty bummed out that this offense isn't clicking more than it is. And, it looked like, hey, this is a team that when we get to Vegas is going to be bam. And now I have more questions than I did probably at the beginning of the year.
That's interesting. Honestly, they're kind of doing what I thought offensively with Lawrence Butler being the one that's probably disappointing. He's quite an electric player. 592 OPS right now. He's not having a good season at all. But don't look now, boys. Jonah Heim's got a 745 OPS. He's above league average.
Surging.
Let's go. I'll meet you guys in the middle and do a C minus. You guys feel good about that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, last one. Brian, tell us about your team.
Unfortunately, I'm going to have to give them maybe a D plus just because they're at least still in the mix. But a lot of it for them is honestly, it's been injuries. We felt like they were going to step back just a touch just because of age. Obviously, the one wonder for this whole team is Jordan Alvarez. I mean, outside of, prime Albert Pujols, I don't know that we're seeing anybody do what he's been able to do with the bat in his hand. And so to me, there's a lot of promise. You're starting to see the offense somewhat take shape. There's a little bit of progress. I'm not going to say a lot of progress with the pitching staff. It'll be interesting to see what they do over the next couple weeks if they really do put themselves in a position to go by. Because I think the division's still there for them, and they could be a very dangerous team if they get into the playoffs and Brown settles himself and gets hot. You got Spencer Aaron Getty, who seems like he could potentially be that number 2 that you've been looking for, but it's after that and then getting to the back end of the bullpen that might be the problem. I don't think Hader's sticking around, so you're going to have to find someone that is going to be able to be that back end for you. Some things like that still need to work out. And so for me, I mean, D+, because obviously I did not expect them to be below 500. I expected them probably to be kind of maybe where Texas is at this point in the season, and they're not. And so to me, it's, just slightly under.
Yeah, I guess I would probably give them a C just because I knew that, one, we knew they had some pitching injuries coming into the year. And also losing Framber Valdez, I thought was a bigger hit to that team than I think Houston was making it out to be at the big over the offseason. I thought that was a bigger loss to that team than they kind of let on. But obviously you can't, prepare for all the injuries that they've had. And I'm sympathetic to that, I guess, a little more than most, just because, expectations sometimes are hard to meet whenever you're missing half your team. But, it is tough because Jordan is having, honestly, a Aaron Judge type season right now. And one of Aaron Judge's really special seasons. Jordan's also doing the same thing right now. And it's tough for them because Jeremy Pena was having a really nice year before he had gotten hurt. Correa actually was off to a pretty decent start. He gets hurt, and you lose him for the year. That's pretty tough. And like I said, getting through all the pitching injuries that they've had has been honestly impressive that they are kind of back into fighting position, not just for the division, but the wild card as well. It's pretty impressive, honestly. But they're not blowing me away by any means outside of Jordan, of course. Jordan's been really special. And their offense actually was putting up crazy runs for a long time. And obviously that means other guys were getting on base. But this is a really weird team. I don't know what they're going to buy or sell at the deadline because they don't have a whole lot to sell, but they really could use some youth in the facility. They could use starting pitching like crazy in the facility, and they just don't have a whole big farm system that's ready to be shaken up. It's already been shaken about to empty. So really interesting team. I'd say a C is probably fair in my opinion.
Yeah, it's funny because if you put this team in the postseason in a 5-gamer or something, I think they probably beat most teams.
Yeah,
but they are not built to survive right now. With all the injuries, they are not built to survive the gauntlet of 162.
Yeah.
Altuve's not having a great season. Correa has been on the injured list, which surprise, I guess, is not a surprise, I guess you could say. Yainer Diaz is quite a disappointment. Other than that, I mean, Cam Smith still hasn't been able to figure it out and find it either. But man, they're carried by the other guys. And again, to your point, Michael, their offense has been insane. It's just their pitching has not been great. It's hard for me to say. If they can make it, which the AL's terrible, so you never know. I'd still put them in wow, this team could make it in the playoff format. But it's just getting there is going to be tricky. I would go D. D+ maybe? Does that feel good for you guys?
Yeah. Where I was the...
Okay. All right, let's jump over to the NL. I wrote NL Easter. You can tell that I work in church instead of NL East. Real quick, let's do Philadelphia and Atlanta.
Okay.
We can do them together because I kind of feel like they sit in the same spot. Let me run the division just super quick. Atlanta is leading with 55-40. Philadelphia Phillies are sitting at 54 and 43. Miami Marlins are sitting at 52 and 45. Nationals at 48 and 49. And in the basement, we will find the Mets at 40 and 57. All right, let's talk Braves and Philly together.
All right. Yeah, to me, this one's kind of easy. I mean, I will give them both an A. Just in the simple just because of this. I mean, Philly is kind of where I thought they would be at this point, maybe a little bit better. Obviously, when we were at the beginning of the year, the Mets were going to run this division away, is where I thought. And the only reason why I would say both of them is the Braves, because they've outperformed their pitching. They have a lot of pitching injuries, too, especially to the starting side. Here lately, they've tailed off. So maybe it warrants into the B range just because they have allowed Philly to catch them. I think on the side for Philly is they woke up. Like, this would have been an F if we were talking about this 1 month into the season for sure. But they've been astonishing since. Like, they've been one of the best teams, if not arguably the best team in baseball, maybe outside of the Dodgers, since that point. And so that's why I would settle with that. I mean, again, this whole this whole division has been impressive, and I would put them above average with the exception of the Mets. Yep. Like, everybody else in this is going to get a decent grade other than the Mets.
Yeah, I guess a month ago or 3 weeks ago, I would have given Atlanta a better grade. If I gave I'd probably say I'd give them an A and maybe Philadelphia an A minus because Philly started out so poorly, and that was really concerning. But they've really kind of come into their own, and like I said, Atlanta's really fallen hard. The fact that we're sitting here at the All-Star break and they're only 2 games back at this point is wildly impressive. So I would agree. I'd give them both A's from that aspect, just because both have been impressive for different reasons. Atlanta overcoming major injuries and still being right near the top of baseball as a whole, not just the division. And Philadelphia, the fact that they overcame like a 15 or 16 game deficit in the division and is now only sitting like 2 games back at the All-Star break. Like, we're not talking at the end of the year. Like, they overcame that in a 2-month span is pretty impressive because they've been, almost unbeatable. When you're playing at above 70 win percentage, you're playing great baseball, and they've been great. So Donnie Baseball for Coach of the Year or whatever that factors into. But it's been fun watching those two.
So I'll give Atlanta an A minus. They have outpaced expectations based on injuries for me.
Yeah.
We kind of all said Atlanta wasn't going to be good.
Yeah.
As I look through our predictions, so they've outpaced us completely, and they've had all those injuries and kept it. If you put them and Houston next to each other with the amount of pinch injuries they have, Atlanta had the best record. I kind of want to give Philly in the B range just simply because they sucked so much for a while.
Yeah.
And it took a firing to do whatever. The team is the same, you know what I mean? But I feel like you can't look at the season without that stretch of time into it. I don't know, what do you guys think about like a B plus for Philly, or do you guys want to stick in the A?
I can feel that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So B plus for Philly, A minus for Atlanta, just because they're kind of outperforming a little bit, especially.
Yep.
Let's go with Miami real quick. They're having a great season, and we picked them. Let's see, we picked them for 4th place, Nationals in 5th place, and they are currently in 3rd at a .536 winning percentage, 52-45, so 7 games above 500.
Yeah, I mean, this is easy for me. This is an A all the way. The only reason why I don't put them as an A plus is obviously because they're not leading the division. I mean, they could completely go up very quickly, but given what I thought they were going to be in comparison, they're drastically outperforming that. They look like a legitimate playoff contending team. I mean, there is a world. I don't think it's going to happen, but there is a world somehow they sneak out this East all of a sudden. They are playing that well. I'll be really, really intrigued as to what they do come deadline. I don't expect them to be major buyers in the market because that's not who Miami is. but usually they're moving some of their high-profile pieces, especially on the pitching side, and I'll be interested to see if that backs off a little bit. I still expect Alcantara, or however you want to say it, to be moved, just because of his contract, just because of his age and what we've seen, over the last few years. What kind of impact will that have on them? But for me, the offense, tremendous. Stowers taking a step back, I thought would significantly hurt them, but Edwards and Lopez stepping up and doing what they're doing, a couple of the other young guys that are performing in their roles, not like being super elite, but doing above what maybe they were anticipated to do, is making a big difference for this team, and you got to give them a lot of credit. So, A for me.
Yeah, it's 100% an A, if not borderline, A plus, from what you're getting out of multiple young players. And this is my plea to Miami fans: please go support this team. They're a lot of fun to watch. Edwards and Lopez have become like my favorite young duo to watch, because those two both on a nightly basis are going to do something fun, either from a defensive perspective or from an offensive perspective. And like you said, Stowers has still got that dog in him. I still think he's the alpha on that team. From what we've seen, previously. Obviously, who knows, if it shakes out that way. But from what we've seen previously, I still think he's that guy. Hicks has had a sensational year. Cooled off a bit, over the last month and a half or so. But he went from a lesser known catcher to all of a sudden this kid's, one of the better young catchers, hitting and defensively, on the National League side. This is certainly probably the same caveat that I had with Detroit. This is a really interesting team to watch over the next 3 weeks, because I've heard rumors, whether it's true or not. They're saying they're telling teams no on Sandy right now. So we'll see how that shakes out. But if they keep Sandy, obviously we saw what Perez did last week. They're a good young bunch, man, and like I said, Atlanta's been falling hard. Some of the other National League teams are kind of starting to teeter a bit. So if they get into the wild card, certainly not a team I definitely wouldn't want to be facing. I can tell you that much.
Yeah, Miami honestly is kind of a serious threat. I'm going to give them an A. Same reason for you, Brian, because they haven't taken over in the division, but they're really close to being an A plus for me, because going from a team last year, they had a great second half, and we were just kind of unsure. Kind of the same as the White Sox, maybe the Cardinals. It's a really young team, unproven, unknown type of thing, but they've definitely outperformed, and they're really hot right now, especially. Let's go to the Nationals, guys. This is kind of a fun team for me. I kind of want to give them an A plus, but I'm curious what your guys' thoughts are.
For me, I'd teeter on the A. I would probably lean B plus, just because they're not above 500. But in comparison to what I thought they were going to be, they were going to be the bottom dwellers of this division. And the fact that they're still in fourth, and it's just because the Mets are just that bad, is maybe what holds them back a little bit. Their offense, impressive. The problem for me is unfortunately the biggest key contributors to their offense isn't even going to be on this team. Probably by the end of the month, they're going to be somewhere else, because they're going to move on. And so it's very disappointing, because I think has the makings of a good young team, but you can tell they very much have their focus set on 2 to 3 years from now, not necessarily this year. And so I think that the front office is probably making the ultimate right move. It just sucks to see, because again, they're one game under 500. They're vastly overperforming, I think, what anybody would say. And the real holdup is not so much the offense, it's the pitching side. And I think you do have some assets in the minor league system that if you wanted to maybe flirt a little bit, you could make some moves, get some pitching, and you might actually make a run at a low-end wild card spot and make some noise, because that offense has the ability. but they're not going to do it. And I think it's ultimately the right decision. Like, let James Wood bring you in another haul. CJ Abrams is still going to get you a good, solid return. And you're going to be poised to potentially be a threat in 2 years, maybe a little bit sooner, as we've seen with some of these other young teams that just figure out ways earlier than expected.
Yeah, first off, I would give them an A as well. Certainly outdone my expectations for this team. I thought this would be one of the worst teams in the league this year. They were hoping Abrams at the beginning of the year was going to have a good year, but they figured, they're probably going to get a whole lot of what they've been getting the last couple of years. He's broke out of it completely. That kid is great offensive player. If I'm the Nationals, I'm sitting here hoping the Yankees have an awful 3-week stretch here because then they're going to pay like crazy to get him in house. But I would say he certainly, if he's not gone at the end of the month, I'd be shocked. Wood, he's the piece that there's more of a. It's hard to say because he's the guy you build around. That kid is what you're getting with him, and he is probably going to be one of the great young players or one of the best hitters in the league for quite some time with what he's profiled the last 2 years. So Wood, we'll see. It's hard to say. I would definitely consider it if I was in their shoes. I think they should seriously consider doing what Minnesota did last year and get rid of anything that you have of value in order to make your team a lot better, a lot faster. They brought in a lot of AAA ready players there in Minnesota last year, and I think the Nationals could do the same. For one, obviously Abrams and Wood are going to bring in some serious value from what those two have been bringing. But some of these other guys as well have really, Garcia and some of these young pieces like. See what teams are willing to throw at you, because you're going to have some teams that are older that are desperate and need to make some moves, and I think there's going to be less of those big time players that we have seen in the last couple of years necessarily available because of how competitive the AL and NL are right now. For different reasons. The NL is all really good and the AL is all really bad. So that means everybody's in the hunt on both sides. So I think it's pretty interesting to watch. But it's pretty impressive a team that has Miles Michaelis as a starter is sitting where they are right now. I mean, right at 500, impressive.
Yeah, this team will forever be known as the First Half Nationals.
That's right. That is 100% correct.
I am blown away that this team is leading the entire league in runs scored. That is crazy. And they have a negative run differential. Oh, no. They have a positive now.
They're plus 7.
It's plus 7 now.
Give them their due.
They were 2 or 3 games above 500 a week ago as well, before the sweep with the Yankees. What a weird team. And I agree with you, Brian. I think it's a first half team because I think they're gone in just a few weeks that make it the players that make a difference to this team.
Yep.
I'm going to give them an A because the first half Nationals are special. All right, boys, the last team in the division.
I'm not even going to say F, man. Just a flat out F. Like, you got to change more than the coach.
I have a question with this one. I've been thinking about this for a minute. This team, the Mets, are the league leader in payroll and third worst record in baseball. Are the New York Mets the National League Angels?
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, at least at this point. I mean, the only difference, in my opinion, is the simple fact that, like, I mean, they're willing to make moves. It's not panning out. The Angels on the different side, like, they've drafted certain players, and they just will not either do what it takes to keep them or they're not drafting well. Like, I mean, outside of Trout, Ohtani, which Ohtani wasn't a draft, obviously he was an international free agent signing on that side, but they obviously did not want to win the bidding war with him to keep him in LA. Trout's really been the only player out there. The one, let's say, free agent splash you made doesn't even want to play baseball. Like, the Angels just, and maybe I'm a curmudgeon when it comes to them, like, I legitimately feel for any Los Angeles Angel fan that is out there. Like, I mean, like, at this point, if there are 5 left, I would be surprised because they do not want to win. At least with the Mets, like, I feel like there's effort as far as trying to go out and get people. It's just they're not good at putting teams together.
Yeah. The funny thing is, I kind of think of the Angels and Mets slightly differently. The Angels refused to trade their best hitter that would bring in the most value for them, and the Mets were the exact opposite with Pete Alonso. They refused to do anything to try to keep that guy around. They did everything they could to push him out the door. Obviously they've went and spent some money, but I think it's a fair comp at least. If you told the Mets beginning of the year that they're going to be getting partnered up with the Angels for who do we say are pretty similar profiles, I'd say Steve Cohen might have sold the team then, but. Yeah, this has got to be. This is, like I said, right there is Seattle and Kansas City as the most disappointing team in baseball for sure. I mean, I don't know how you have the team that they have built there, just from the players aspect. Like, I think we all realize, like, Soto is not a good defender. Bichette is not a good defender. Lindor is a good defender, but he's been hurt for a good portion of the year. But, several other pieces are not really great defenders, or they're not good hitters, one or the other. But they made some really risky decisions this offseason. They brought Bichette in, tried to move him to a position he's never played before, and paid him a lot of money to do it. They brought Polanco in to play a position he's never played before, very little time that he's ever played. And he's been hurt basically the entire year. And then your pitching staff is nowhere in the same ballpark that they were last year. You had one of the best young pitchers coming in that a lot of people had pegged as a potential Rookie of the Year guy with McLean, and everything we saw from him in the WBC kind of held up on that. Like, that kid's stuff is nasty. But, your other veteran pitchers are getting lit up every game. And McLean's not been necessarily his best self in a lot of games either. But I sit here, kind of watching that team, and I'm like, how much of that is actually on the pitchers when you're watching a team with this much talent play this badly? And it's hard to go out there every game and just, give it your best when you're watching these guys out there that are professional baseball players, several-time All-Stars, not be able to field a baseball, or, guys that are batting 200 or under. It's like, what are we doing here, fellas?
They could add Volpe, and their defense might get a little bit better.
That's sad. That's just sad. If this isn't an F for you, Tim, this is certainly a D-, because this team is abysmal.
I'm gonna lock it in at F-, the lowest possible grade you can go, because as Juan Soto, to quote Juan Soto, what do you expect me to do? Make out with them? That's where the New York Mets are. The Mets. All right, let's round this out. Let's talk about the we're going to jump over to the AL West, or not AL, NL West, and we'll round it out with the NL. Did I say AL West twice? NL West, and we'll round it out with the NL Central. My lord.
We'll forgive you.
The Dodgers are in the front, and that's what we expected them to be.
Yeah.
We're going to give them an A. You guys good with an A? Because
yeah, easy. I mean,
yep.
It's what we thought. I mean, I don't like it, but it is what it is.
Yeah. The right now the division's sitting underneath the Dodgers with I think the best record in baseball, right? 61 wins. Yeah.
Yep.
The Diamondbacks sitting in second place, 49 and 47. The Padres sitting at 500 at 48. The Giants at 41 and 55. And in the basement we find the Rockies at 39 and 59. The Rockies are an F as always. We'll round that out, right?
I'll give them a C just because that's what I expected. Like, I mean, I didn't.
Same about, to be honest with you.
That's fine.
They've actually had some excitement happen in Colorado this year.
Yeah.
They might not be the worst team at the end of the year. That gets
In that
them
division.
at least out of the F, right? I mean, so
Could be. What a special place it is to be in Colorado. Let's rock the Padres real quick. What do you guys think about them? The expectation for us, let me scroll down to the other window, was them to be in fourth place. We picked them to be in fourth and take a step back. They rocked for a while, close to the Dodgers, and then they kind of have fallen apart in the last month or so.
yeah, I mean, you know, without the last month, I'd have probably given them a B just because they were headed in the right direction, which I did not think. I thought the age of this team and some of the players was going to start to get to them. I think I would settle probably maybe a C plus, a B minus at this because they are a little bit better than I anticipated. I still think this is going to be a team that ultimately they need to sell. They've talked about it. They want to get out from some of the money. I'm still going to stand by my statement. I do not think Tatis is on this team after the trade deadline. I think he's going to be somewhere else, and I think it's going to be a resurgence for him. I don't have pinpoint who's going to be there in that spot, but I think some of those players, it's time to go. I saw Cliff Floyd on MLB Network make Manny Machado one of his players that he would like to see traded at the trade deadline.
So
I don't
would Manny
know,
Machado.
right? I don't know who's going to pick him up. Like that would be a tough pickup in my opinion, just because he's played better as of late, but it has been pretty rough all season. So I think all of that, the pitching's kind of been you don't get to see Mason Miller near as much as you would hoped. And because of that, I mean, I think, like I said, C plus, maybe a B minus, just because, they're hanging around at 500.
Boys, Manny Machado has got above the Mendoza line.
That's a miracle.
203 right now.
Yeah, I would. I don't know. I guess I'd have him at a C minus personally, because I still had hopes thought that the Padres had enough talent offensively to potentially get them into a playoff picture, wild card potentially. Didn't think they'd win the division just because the Dodgers are Dodgers, but certainly thought they'd have some say in the division at least. And we kind of saw that ironically without Manny Machado doing basically anything. And for whatever reason, Tatis has started hitting the ball better. Machado's hitting the ball better, but the team is getting worse. Doesn't make sense. Those are just the facts. Like it
Feels
I
a
don't
little
know.
Metsy.
It's pretty odd. So yeah, I'd probably go C minus on San Diego.
It's not a good thing when Ty France is your best offensive player, and it's a weird team. Pitching's like, I don't know. It's just a weird team. I'd go C minus. I expect them to take a dip, so they're kind of right around. You guys okay with C minus?
Yeah, I'm
Sure.
fine with that.
Okay. San Francisco. They're currently sitting close to the basement at 41 and 55, 10.5 behind the wild card, 19.5 behind the Dodgers. Minus 64 run differential. This team is bad.
Yeah. Yeah, who would have thought, right? I honestly, everything about to me, this is an F because I thought their pitching would be better. I thought offensively they would be a little bit better. I wasn't a big fan of the Devers headed out that way, that experiment, but I thought nonetheless the dude hits, right? That's what he does. You thought Adames was going to be something special there. and it's just not translating, at least not this year. I mean, Logan Webb, not been good. Arguably, they trade away a pitcher, to Boston, who then ends up in Milwaukee, who's looking like he's a stud, and Kyle Harrison, who you gave up on, sent back to the minors because it wasn't working. It just looks bad in San Francisco. I mean, if you're Buster Posey and the crew, like, all the good that people were saying, hey, dude just wants to make a shakeup, and we applaud him for it. Now we're going, maybe we should bite our tongues a little bit harder before we make some good statements, because I don't hate the guy, but it has not turned out well on his behalf. He was willing to swing big, but he's made some poor choices along the way.
Yeah. I had actually lower expectations for San Francisco this year. I looked back. I did have them fourth in the division, but I thought this division overall was going to be more competitive. I thought LA, may be a little less great, still great, but a little less great. And I thought Arizona, San Diego, San Francisco would all be relatively competitive. I did not expect to be sitting at the All-Star break with the Giants sitting 2 games above the Rockies. So, it's like I said, I expect them to be there, but I would certainly say like a D, because of a lot of what Brian hit on there, like D minus maybe, because Logan Webb has been one of the best, like most consistent pitchers in baseball that isn't in that Cy Young talk over the last like several years. A great starting pitcher. He's not been that, somehow still made the All-Star game. Don't ask me. And
nobody
actually,
knows anyway.
Every team has to have at least one player, guys.
That's fair. They go ahead and trade one of their the great young catcher,
Patrick Bailey.
Yeah,
certainly an interesting decision. They traded for a guy that, like you said, Brian, like, at least Devers has always been able to hit, and so I thought like this year he'd kind of come back into his own form. He knows full time he's going to be a first baseman. That's not worked out, so it's. I don't know who's going to have a harder time selling players with high contracts at the deadline, the Padres or the Giants, because they're both going to be eating some money on some of those contracts.
Yeah, with this team, I think if you look at their offensive numbers, they've actually got some really good players. Luis Ariz,
yep,
829 OPS. Jung-Hoo Lee, 762. Casey Schmidt, 805. Bryce Eldridge is having a breakout season. Rafael Devers, don't look now, he's at an 800 OPS right now. 19 homers from one of the worst players in the league. But they're just not, kind of the same thing we talked about opposite of the Rays. They're just not playing good baseball together, like, at all. What'd we say, D?
Yeah.
Yeah. Works for
like
me. Anything
I said,
below C.
Anything you just said there, like Luis Ariz and some of those other guys at the top, those are guys that you're really excited if they're your 5th or 6th best player. They can't be your top 2 players on your team.
Right. Good for good for Bryce Eldridge though.
Yeah.
He might be gone. You never know. Last round in this one out is Arizona. I'm a little stuck on this team, and I'm still not sure what to think of them. They're sitting in second place, 2 games above 500, 6-4 in the last 10, negative 13 run to differential.
This is what Arizona does, man.
Yeah, I mean, we pegged them to be second to the Dodgers. I thought at the beginning of the year it was going to be a closer race. Like, I felt like they would at least, make it slightly interesting. Again, the Dodgers, we know, are going to walk away with the division ultimately. It's what they do. It was just when the Dodgers hit their little downtrod, which I expect coming out of the All-Star break. Maybe the Dodgers will kind of come back down to earth and play, for a stretch around 500 baseball, and it'll look like they're not going to do anything significant. And then again, they'll pick it back up come playoff time and be one of the better teams. So I thought Arizona could make it interesting. They still can. And that's why I guess I would say maybe, B minus B if you will, because they're still in second. They're meeting expectations a little bit better than I thought. Some of their key players, not necessarily performing. I mean, but Corbin Carroll's still Corbin Carroll. Perdomo not quite having the same offensive season he had last year, but still very solid. Marte's still there. Pitching was probably the biggest hang up for me coming into the year, and it surprisingly hasn't been that bad. Like, I mean, they've been solid. So yeah, B minus I'd be okay with.
Yeah, I would agree because they even weathered a storm where Ketel Marte was really bad. And he's been one of the better, players in the league over the last several years, and a guy they certainly were relying on a lot. They're meeting where I think they'd need to be as far as potentially making the wild card, but I think there's more in this team from a hitting capacity. The pitching is where there's always been a lot of questions, and as you see with a negative run differential once again, this is just kind of what Arizona does, man. They hit the baseball, but they do not pitch very well. They have some guys that have been in Cy Young talks in the past on the staff, but they're nowhere near the Cy Young talks these days. So I have no idea what they're going to do as far as pitching goes, but I would say they're doing a pretty good job of staying afloat and staying in that wild card picture.
I would say I'll agree with you guys and go with the B minus route. I would say the problem with this team lies in the offense. They have one of the worst run score lines for teams that are in the mix. I mean, obviously, teams below them are not good in that category, but they're not scoring runs, especially like this team is built to do. They're having great offensive seasons individually, but they're not putting runs together on the board. They are sitting at, I just had this pulled up, and it's disappeared. They have 416 runs scored, which is lower than everybody above them or around them in the wild card category. So they're just not putting hits together and scoring runs, but they're staying afloat. I don't think they're going to make the wild card team or the wild card because I think the teams right next to them are better. Cardinals, Pittsburgh, Miami. I think they're all better than them in that category. The team as a whole, I'll say this is an interesting spot because they made the World Series in 2023, and you thought the rebuild that they were coming out of was like, oh, hey, now it's time to get this started. Corbin Carroll is here. We brought Gabby Moreno, and we started building this, and it's been nothing ever since. So I think they have some interesting decisions to make to figure out if they need to restart this thing or like what they can do to shake it up because they've been trying to just hold it together and it's just not working. All right, let's jump into the Central and finish this out. This is going to be fun. I think let's start from the bottom and go to the top. So the Cincinnati is sitting at the bottom of the division at 43 and 52. Pittsburgh sitting in fourth at 50 and 47. Cardinals are St. Louis sitting with 40 at third place in 50 and 45. The Cubs are rounding in second with 54 and 42. Milwaukee sitting in first place at 59 and 37. So Cincinnati, we had them in fifth place. That's where they are. Then we had St. Louis in fourth place. Then Milwaukee. Then Pittsburgh. Then Chicago. We've gotten it completely wrong, mostly. Cincinnati, let's rate them really quick because they're at the bottom. Do we expect them to stay at the bottom? Are they at a C?
To me, they are. I mean, and it's unfortunate because I think there's promise for this team. They're a young team that I think will be good. Their pitching has been hurt. I mean, Green just got back. He looks every bit the part. The challenge for them is, are they going to be able to hold together some of these pitching as it goes? And again, I think they took some swings, like bringing Gino back hasn't really panned out quite the way they had hoped it to. Yeah. You know, some things like that. They still have some positional gaps they need to fill, but I think they're a team on the rise in the future. If I'm in the Central, like, there's not a team on this list that I'm not a little bit concerned with. This is shaping up to be, and I don't just say this as a Cardinals fan, but this division is shaping up to being one of the most competitive divisions year in and year out here over the next number of years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree. And like you said, losing Hunter Green for the first 2.5 months of the year is really tough for a team that definitely needed him to come out there and be their ace for those first 2.5 months. The fact that, or three months maybe, the fact that they were still sitting above 500 at the end of May was pretty impressive. The entire division was, but I'd say they're kind of right where we thought they'd be a C. We thought they'd take a step back. I don't think any of us thought they were going to be really a wild card team or anywhere close to there. They kind of overexceeded things last year from a pitching aspect, and some of their young pieces a little overperformed, especially down the stretch. Now, I will say, Sal Stewart's really broke out this year for them, which has been huge for them. And then Ellie's still having a really nice season again. So, you got to take the wins where you got them. But they're kind of playing where we thought they would be, and I expect them to stay there the rest of the year because I don't foresee them overtaking Pittsburgh, St. Louis, Chicago, or Milwaukee.
Yeah. Let's rock Milwaukee for a minute. I'm gonna give them an A because we all said that they're gonna be in the middle of the pack, and we keep doing that, and we need to stop doing it. But I think we're probably gonna keep doing it. But they've outperformed everything that we've said by far.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. Like, I mean, there's no doubt in any world you can't give them an A, an A plus. I mean, aside from aside from the fact that obviously they're essentially 2 games back from having the best record in baseball. Pitching wise, some of the moves they've made have been just astounding. Going out and getting Kyle Harrison when everybody else was basically writing him off and turning him into a legitimate number 2 behind the Miz has been fascinating to watch. The bullpen, I mean, everything about them is good. They're not this like crazy power driven team, but my God, they score runs, and they score runs creatively, and you can be up 4-0 on them, and in one inning it's all of a sudden 5-4 Milwaukee, and they don't even get a hit. It's just walks and reaching on errors and then stealing a couple bags, and all of a sudden you just find yourself in a world of hurt. And so, I mean, as much as I want to hate on them, I can't. I wish they would fall apart. I wish they would all get turf toe or whatever it is that slows them down. But it's just not going to happen. I mean, they're a really good team that's probably going to make another good run in the playoffs. I just feel for them because as good as they are, the Dodgers are still going to be a really, really hard team to overcome for them.
Yeah, I would say I'd give them an F because I get tired of their crap. They got to stop being this good, man. It's ridiculous. The fact that they just, I don't know, man. What they do with pitchers is unbelievable to watch. I wish they weren't in our division because I'd like Milwaukee more, but I have beef with Milwaukee because, Chicago and Milwaukee have beef, but the team's playing great baseball as a whole. It is kind of interesting up until this point, and our viewers know this. We have all been sitting here in awe of Mizorowski up until this point, and I would say up until July. His last 2 starts are what I'm questioning of what we were afraid could happen, or what we thought maybe his season was going to be more like, if he was going to have some outings where he was getting blown up a little bit. And I don't hope it for the kid. As a Cubs fan, it's nice to see that he is hittable, and might be coming back down to earth because the rest of Milwaukee might freak out a little bit, realizing that they don't have an automatic win when that kid goes out there. But as a whole, I mean, the team's been stupid good. I can't believe San Francisco got rid of Harrison, as good as that kid is. So just stop doing what you're doing, Milwaukee. We hate it.
Yeah. All right, Pittsburgh, they're sitting in 4th place right now, but they're pretty much they're really close to tied with St. Louis, 50 and 47 right now. We have them in 2nd place in the Central.
Yeah, and I guess the thing for me is I would probably end up like B plus for them. One, because I think their pitching kind of took a little bit of a step back, and I say that tongue in cheek. Like, they're still really good. Their pitching staff is still good. But Skeens hasn't been as dominant as we've once seen him. Doesn't mean he can't get back to that. I think the impressive part for me is like the additions that they made have been electric for them. O'Hearn has been really good. The only thing that's keeping me from an A on this is O'Neal Cruz is just not developing. He's not becoming that star stud that they really needed him to be. And so I'm wondering, in my opinion, you have Skeens on the pitching side. Who's going to be that guy? Can it be Griffin? That's still, yet to be seen. I mean, I like the fact that he's up. Hopefully he plays well for them. But they need somebody on the offensive side of the spectrum to really put it in gear. I mean, again, I think what they've done with O'Hearn and a couple of the other additions, O'Hearn sticks out, obviously, because he had the monster game, a couple nights ago. But, I mean, overall, he's played really well for them. And it wouldn't shock me. I hope this is not the case. It wouldn't shock me if Pittsburgh ends up leapfrogging St. Louis coming out of the break and kind of solidifying themselves as maybe the ones that are going to fight with Miami for that final wild card spot. And the Cardinals hang around, I've said it all year, and maybe miss out because I think they're going to have to start giving a little bit of runway to some of these younger pitchers down in AAA. And if they struggle a bit, you could lose some games that just end up disqualifying you from the playoffs. That's all.
Yeah, I would say I would be a B to A, mostly because of the off-season acquisitions. Brandon Lau.
Yeah.
If you would have told the Pirates that he was going to have 21 home runs at the All-Star break, they would have been shaking their head.
Should
there's
be an
no way.
all-star.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Brian Reynolds is kind of back to that guy we were used to seeing for some years. Nick Gonzalez is having a great year. Like you said, O'Hearn has had a pretty nice year. O'Neal Cruz, I think the big problem you have with him is he's just had some IL time. Overall, he's batting around 270, put up 14 or 15 home runs. Yeah, he's the guy that you probably wanted to be your superstar, but maybe he can be the number 2 to Griffin from this, or maybe he's a piece that you dangle as a trade piece. Who knows? But he's not he's not the 230 hitter he was before. That's for sure. And it's nice to see that him kind of find some form. The big problem we still run into is he's just not a good defender. So you're going to have to figure something out with him there. Now, the good news for you is Marcell Ozuna's been so bad as a DH, maybe you can just make him your full-time DH and just roll with it. Connor Griffin, from the little bit of time that we've seen him out there, hope that kid can stay healthy because he is a special talent for sure. He's a lot of fun to watch. This is a Pirates team that, from a Cubs perspective and a Central, fan, I hate to see that this Pittsburgh team is kind of finally finding their form. And we'll see what they do as far as actually paying these guys, but it's a pretty good young team.
I think they should be better. I kind of teeter on a C plus because with the talent that they've accumulated, with the pitching staff that they have, I think they should be above St. Louis, but they're not. I don't know if that's more of an indictment on the Pirates or a bonus that St. Louis is playing as outperforming necessarily. But I'll throw a B minus in there. For the last two, Michael, how would you grade St. Louis?
That's a great question. I would say I would give the Cardinals probably a B plus to an A, somewhere in that realm, because I thought St. Louis was going to be worse than they are. For sure. I had them pegged for either last or fourth in the division. and it was not an indictment on the players per se. It was just the youth more than anything. It's hard to see, how guys are going to translate. Obviously, JJ has been sensational to start this year. Um, it was also hard to believe the fact that Jordan Walker was actually going to show up, because he's just not been that guy for the last couple of years. And I honestly thought he was going to have a change of scenery to potentially be anything, because I thought St. Louis had stole that kid's confidence completely. I hate to see him playing so well in St. Louis, but I love to see that the kid is playing well, because he's a really special talent. You don't see a lot of guys with the size and ability that kid has. It's fun to watch. The pitching staff, I think, as a whole, has been better also outside of Libator. I am pretty disappointed with how Libby has looked, for the most part. I thought he really took a step forward last year, and he's just not been very good for most of this year. Palante's obviously having a very nice season. And McGreevy's kind of solidified, I think, himself as your number 2. I don't think he's a guy that can be a number 1, but the Cubs rolled with a guy similar with Hendricks for several years as their number 1, so he definitely could be. It's just he's not your traditional guy that's gonna rear back and throw it, but been really nice. So I'd say the Cardinals as a whole have had a pretty nice year. You've gotten a lot of answers to a lot of the questions you had. The only piece that I would say I questioned, but they ended up finally pulling the trigger. I guess I have 2. Is you finally gave Crooks a shot after the kid was hitting really well down in AAA. Obviously, not quite translated as much as maybe you'd hope, but I think part of that also is the fact that you're trying to rotate 3 catchers through. Still makes that a challenge.
It's the Cardinal way.
100%.
The new
and
Cardinal
then I would
way.
say the other piece is just watching to see what the Cardinals do at the end of the year, or if they still hold pat to where they're playing right now, if they are willing to change their decision on Baez, if they don't end up trading him and actually bring him up, because the kid is playing lights out baseball. I wouldn't say your other outfielders have been lighting it up to the point where you're like, let's leave him down there in AAA. I'd say give the kid a shot and see what you got. Is worth it potentially. So, especially if you guys are going to make a playoff push, the way he's hitting the baseball, you certainly could use a bat like that. So, but I would say a B to an A personally. I hate it. The Cardinals actually seem to be, running things differently than Mozeliak did. So I hate to see that. But it's good for you guys as a team for sure.
Well, thank you for that. Next for this one, Brian, how would you rate the Cubs?
Oh man, I mean, B plus. I mean,
whoa.
I mean, given the pitching injuries, right? Like, that's been a dramatic blow to the Cubs. I mean, the fact that I thought they would be far and above Milwaukee. Like on paper, I thought they were going to run the division. Obviously, Milwaukee is much better than we anticipated, and that realization has maybe humbled my expectation of where the Cubs really should rank. Like offensively, I think they figured it out. They're doing what they need to do for the most part. Now, there's a lot of players that are not up to snuff, but I think the last month of PCA has really been an eye-opening experience for most of the league in that regard. I know the Cardinal haters of PCA are still out there, and we still kind of hope that this is just a 1-month fluke, that he doesn't become this all the time. But I mean, for the Cubs, I mean, you're 12 games above 500. Like you can't be angry or upset at that. I mean, they're playing good baseball. They're a very streaky team, and so right now they're probably on one of their good streaks. We'll see what happens come post All-Star break if they hit another skid or slide. But honestly, at the end of the day, I mean, if their pitching's there, are they a little bit closer? Are they within a few games of Milwaukee? Possibly. Horton was having a great season before he went down. Boyd's been up and down. If you got even remotely who Boyd was last year, I mean, you might be talking about the Cubs and the Brewers going back and forth. I mean, you might be. For me, first half, B, just because I thought they would be better, but they're not terrible. Like they're still a really good team. I still think of any of the teams, if they can get their pitching right, they can be a threat in the playoffs. I don't think they're going to win it just with offense. If this pitching staff doesn't change come trade deadline time, it's going to be pretty rough for them in the playoffs. It might be a one and done, because we see what offenses, not all offenses can carry teams in playoffs. You need a little bit of pitching. And so those are some of the questions. Their bullpen, I think they're going to get some pieces back. I think they'll make some moves there to bolster that side of it. So I think they'll be okay with Palencia settling in, Brown coming back, stabilizing himself within that bullpen. And again, making a couple moves here or there. Because right now, let's be honest, all they're doing is having open tryouts for DFA candidates to fill a roster spot right now just to get them through some of these injuries. I mean, you bring in Jake Woodford just to pitch a game, and then it's like, okay, buddy, thanks, appreciate it. You gave us some innings. Good luck out there. I feel for them. And again, I want to be more critical, and I think there is room for that as far as some players. Obviously, Bregman has not been who you thought he was going to be for this team. I'm not a big fan of Suzuki in right field. I mean, I know he's one of your better hitters. I just don't know how well it serves you long term. But I understand. Like, I would like to, and this is maybe just a personal preference, I'd like to see Matt Shaw a little bit more on the field. And they're just not doing it. And so I think there's room for improvement for them, but I'm not going to knock a team that's, again, 12 games or so. Or not 12 games, I should say. What? Oh, no, 12 games. I'm second guessing myself here. But I can't knock a team for being as good as they are. I mean, they're 54-42. They're right there with Philly. They're right there with Atlanta. I mean, the only team that's really outpacing them at this point are the two best teams in Major League Baseball.
There you have it, folks. Appreciate you guys for listening. We have gone way over. I wanted to talk about the All-Star game, but I don't think we're out of time now, so make sure to watch the Derby. It's going to be really fun because Jordan Walker's there, and
they got a good slate. Real quick, here's the
real
slate.
Quick, going through it, Brian.
Kyle Schwarber, Bryce Harper. I find it fascinating, two Phillies guys, but it is in Philly. That's cool.
That's not fascinating at all. That's super typical.
Murakami, which I think will be fun. Caminero, which will be the wild card. Ben Rice, and then Caglione, and then here's the best one. Wilson Contreras, boys, is in the home run derby.
I want to speak to that real quick. Don't you think it's funny that he's going to be performing in the All-Star break while suspended?
Yeah,
it's awesome. I love it because the suspensions don't matter. Baby.
So real quick then, you guys have the final two? Who would you guys pick?
Ooh, I'm going to say Schwarber and Caglione.
You stole my dark horse. I don't know what the bracket looks like, so this could be wrong too. But I was going to go Schwarber, and I'll go Caminero, just because I remember watching him hit some tanks last year. But I think Caglione, is certainly one to watch as a dark horse. Mm-hmm. And I would say watch him for potential longest home run.
I don't know that there is a bracket this year, boys. I think they're just going on based off of home runs. Top four, move on.
Yeah, this is going to be so much fun.
So, final four, I'm torn between Cags, Schwarber, Caminero, and Walker. I think because of all of those guys, like those are the exit velo long home run guys. Cags is a man. The dude's swing is very like 500-foot, homers. And with the with it not being a timed thing, the thing I'm curious about, it's swing oriented. It's not strikes.
Yep.
So, which I guess are outs. I guess could be kind of close to the same. But it's who can slow themselves down the most and like pause, not try too quickly. I feel like Schwarber's going to have an edge just because he's got the experience with it.
Yep.
But it's going to be, I think Caglione could potentially win it. Caminero, Cags, and Walker, I think, beat Schwarber out, personally.
I would say keep an eye on Bryce Harper for sure. In Philly, and he's won the Derby before.
Sure. So has Schwarber. Hasn't Schwarber won? Or has he not?
I don't remember if he won or he definitely got beat by Harper. In the one Derby. So I think he may have just finished runner up the one year.
Okay.
My only knock on Jordan, I love him, but my only knock is he's too line drive oriented sometimes.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, did you watch the video of him doing Derby practice?
I'm all here for it. Like
he was hitting the concourse with every hit.
I'm just not gonna jinx the man.
Yeah,
I'm pulling for him, like secretly. Like I might put money on him, but
imagine it's Caglione and Walker, like the two exit velocity, like 99 percentiles.
Be funny, man.
They pull out the metal bats and someone just ends up getting seriously injured.
Yeah, lawsuit.
What do you guys think about that, real quick?
There.
I'm 100% all in.
Are you?
Yes.
You just got to put nets up. Like you
100%.
can't have the fans get hit with a baseball that's off the bat at 160, 170 plus.
All the kids got to get off the field.
100%.
Yeah.
I thought Vladdy killed that one kid a couple years ago.
It's going to be a good time no matter what, though. Make sure everybody tunes into the Derby. It's a lot of fun, especially with the rule change this year. I think it's going to be even more fun because we can just see how far this guy's going with a home run instead of just like trying to keep up the pace. But let us know your thoughts. Who's going to win? Who's going to be in the final two? In the comments, let us know about the grades for everything, for the different divisions and the different teams. Again, we appreciate you guys for listening so much. Thanks for commenting and having discussion. That's obviously the main part that we want. But we'll see you guys in the next round for Who's on First.